It starts somewhere, and in baseball, that somewhere is the minors. The breakout stars,
early on in day 3 of the draft, the Pirates called.
the wild moments, and the prospects you need to know about.
A sub-3 ERA in both single and double A.
This is Minor League Weekly, your inside look at the future of the game. And away we go for episode 7 of the Minor League Weekly podcast. We are on Minor League Minutes YouTube channel. Minor League Weekly is on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Cory Sparks here driving the ship as per usual. I've got Sam Strash to my right if you're watching the stream, and to his right we have Max Rinn making his podcast debut. Max and Sam, day one contributors.
Well, it'd be the other way around. We're on the lefts.
Wait a minute.
We're the left hands, Cory.
Wait a minute. Oh, yeah. I'm reversed
There
on
you
my
go.
end. All right, we're good. Left hand. Sam, how are you?
Not doing too shabby. You know, last weekend, NFL playoffs was, I felt like I should have admitted myself to an institution at one point after that Trevor Lawrence interception. But we made it to the other side of that. I actually have one of my fantasy football leagues runs the whole season, and the playoffs you redraft as you go through the rounds. So I have the first pick in a standard order, not snake, standard order draft coming up this coming weekend. It's the scoring rules are weird. I feel like I got to go quarterback first overall pick because Bo Nix is done. I don't want to get stuck with Bo Nix.
Yeah, that's fair. You got Stidham as one of your options now. Max, how are you?
I'm doing good. Honestly, I've just been busy with my other job. Just kind of keeping myself busy. I also was just in Door County over the weekend, just watching like a lot of playoff football and stuff. Cory, no offense, but I was happy that the Bears lost.
A lot of people were happy with that
because of that field goal. But yeah, it's but Caleb Williams does deserve all the respect in the world because he did do a phenomenal job like for the Bears. Like he's probably like one of like the few star quarterbacks you guys had in history or whatever, because you guys did not have a good history with like keeping quarterbacks, maybe except for Jay Cutler. But
even that's if he's like our all-time leader in a lot of categories, so no, that's totally fair. Glad you enjoyed your time in Door County, the house that AJ Dillon built to this point. I think it's fair to say that. All right, so here's what we got here. We got headlines. We will be talking about what the Dodgers have done over the course of the last few days, again thrusting themselves into league-wide headlines. Risers and fallers, as per usual, will be split up. Farm features, we have a hybrid between the NL Central, wrapping it up with Sam's Milwaukee Brewers. We skip on over to the AL Central and actually get through the halfway point of this series, as we're going to be going through teams 15, 16, and 17. I've got the White Sox. Max will wrap us up with a look at the Detroit Tigers pipeline, a couple of top 10 overall talents in that one. We then almost wrap up our series of title teams in low A with the San Jose Giants. So we'll talk about a couple of standout players, what their manager pulled off, and what that season looked like in a nutshell. Boys, for headline, I love that you wrote this in our outline here, Sam. They are the evil empire. They have emerged yet again. The Dodgers went out, got in a bit of an arms race with the New York Mets. Those were the final two high-bidding suitors, and said, hey, Kyle Tucker, how does $60 million a year sound for you? 4 years, $240 million contract with opt-outs after those second and third years. Deferred $30 million, so not majority, not a large chunk, but they are putting some of that on the back end. Sam, your immediate reaction as someone who obviously watches this game very close, is a fan of the Brewers, and now all of a sudden we have Freddie Peralta talks flying around here as we get into mid-January with that team as well.
I mean, this is ridiculous, guys. As much as I am a supporter of the free market and laissez-faire economics, a capitalist society, this needs to stop. We've reached a breaking point where maybe it's time for a restriction or two. And I don't really care what the media says. The Dodgers, their farm has never been that great, nor will it ever be great. Mm-hmm. And that's what's sparking them to go out and just sign everything that has two legs and can hold a baseball bat, right? And that's no slight on Kyle Tucker or Edwin Diaz or anything on those guys, right? They're phenomenal baseball players. But the Dodgers, they benefited from a former PR nightmare back in 2011 with the McCourt divorce and the forced sell of the team to the Guggenheim Group and the restructuring of their local market TV deal that allows them to make so much money off of that and only share about the same rate as every other team, right? They only have to put in about $80 million into the shared revenue from their TV deal every year. They get to keep almost $300 million. Whereas teams like the Rays and the Brewers and the Marlins and so on and so forth, they're putting in maybe like $20 million, but their take home is nowhere near $300 million. So the argument that other teams can do what the Dodgers are doing, their owners just don't want to do it, that needs to be put to a stop, right? Likewise, the Dodgers got to stop doing this, man. They're going to torch the game of baseball. It's time to bring on the lockout and just do it now. Like, especially if there's the Freddie Peralta rumors going on right now. Especially if Freddie Peralta ends up getting moved to Milwaukee, which pre-show I said if they have the best package, do it. But if it happens, or worse, if Tarek Skubal to the Dodgers happens, the owners and Rob Manfred, really how it should go is they sit down at the table with Tarek Skubal involved because he's one of the 8 members of that executive committee for the MLBPA. Sit down across the table from the 8 members of that committee, take that CBA, rip it in half, throw it on the table, and say, it's time to make a new one. Let's draft this up again. It's time. How do you have players questioning if you can go toe-to-toe with the Dodgers? That's how you know this is a problem.
Yeah, it's a bad problem. And Sam, before I kick it over to you, Max, too, do you think, because here's my theory, and it's not a unique one. A lot of people out there are hypothesizing this. The Dodgers see the CBA coming to an end. They hear the lockout talks. They hear the possible discussions that could be happening not very long from now about a hard cap. And they're going, you know what? Before anyone can put their foot down, one last time, let's just give everyone the bird. Because look, they've made big offseason moves going and getting Diaz, going and paying Kyle Tucker $60 million a year. We knew he was a great baseball player. It feels like they're just driving home that point right now more than they would any other typical Dodgers year because they know what's coming in 2026-27.
I can see a world in which that is the case. And I do believe that that might be this world we live in, right? So like I said, back in 2011, the old ownership, the McCourt family, nasty divorce. Mr. McCourt says that my wife has nothing to do with the team. She says, actually, I have everything to do with the team finances. I need 50% or like I'm suing, right? So MLB forces the sale. The Guggenheim Group with Magic Johnson et al. Takes over. All that money coming in, all the revenue streams coming in. I figure they knew at some point this was coming, right? At some point, because even dating back to the mid to late 2010s, they were still an unbelievably star-studded roster. And then they traded for Mookie Betts. And then they signed Freddie Freeman. And then before Freddie Freeman, they also traded for Trey Turner and Max Scherzer. And nearly brought back Trey Turner. And then they also like I said, signed Freddie Freeman. And then they went and got Shohei Ohtani, right? There's so much money coming in. And we talked about this pre-show too. Why aren't guys attracted to Miami as much? Well, there's not as much money coming in Miami as there is in the LA metro market. And say what you want about the taxes. Say what you want about how Florida doesn't have the state income tax or the jock tax compared to California. But there's more to be done. There's more PR response to be made in California than there is in Florida. I think the Dodgers know that. And I think they know that they can get these guys grandfathered in under the new CBA. So they're fully preparing to be terrible come about 2035. They know that's coming. But they want to win as much as possible now and get these guys grandfathered in so that they can say up yours to the league and reap the benefits from all of this reckless spending that's going on right now, which is somehow avoiding the Cohen tax. In the grand scheme of things, it somehow avoids the Cohen tax. I don't understand how.
Yeah, it's nuts. And look, I love that you phrased it like that. They're treating the CBA stuff like a deadline. All right, boys, we got like X amount of months to do whatever the heck we want. And then they'll start cracking down, but they can't just kick Kyle Tucker out of town. They can't just tell Freddie Freeman up yours. You got to get off this
Legally
team.
binding deals.
Nope.
It's on paper. It's notarized.
So
they can't just rip that up.
Yep. They said, hey, Manfred, hey, front office members, contract started. We don't want to get out of here all of a sudden and act like we should make any hasty decisions with guys who are also, by the way, making your league a lot of money when you have the Shohei Otanis and the Mookie Betts of the world. My note here, bottom line, there's no competitive balance in baseball right now. This team has won back-to-back. Almost didn't. Blue Jays took him to the brink. Shout out Andy Pajes. Didn't have a very good postseason, but made a nice catch in left center field there, calling off his running mate.
I don't understand how he did.
Yeah, big dude just got up there and snared it, right? But before we jump over to you, Max, here, because you've got a good angle on, the risk that the Dodgers could be taking post CBA. The players speaking up tells me this: we will have a hard cap on the other end of this lockout. I don't know what it's going to be. It's probably going to be a really high apron, but it's going to be a hard cap. And it's not going to be what's happening right now and what's been happening with the Dodgers. Here's how the luxury tax works. If you're a repeat offender after each year, your percentage that you are spending, whatever you get penalized, keeps going up until you're a repeat offender for so many years. After you max it out for 4 or 5 years, it doesn't matter if you're a repeat offender for 20 years. The league stops penalizing you more. Same with if you go over the threshold and get into the luxury tax by a certain amount. What the Dodgers have done is they have broken the scale past that top threshold to the point where the league's hands are tied right now. They physically cannot penalize the Dodgers anymore because they've done the maximum offense for so long, but they're making so much money that it doesn't even matter. Max, $60 million a year is a lot for somebody like Kyle Tucker. That's kind of the angle you're looking at here.
Yeah, it's so hard to put it into words because 60 million by itself, that number is just an insane number. But on top of that, a $64 million sign bonus, $30 million in deferred payment tie-up, like, that's insane. But that's without guaranteeing performance. There's meaning any regression, injury, or underperformance. It's just leaving the Dodgers with little room to pivot because they're at that luxury tax, and then with the combined AAV combined with the bonuses, deferred money, it pushes us pushes deeper in that luxury tax territory. It's limiting their ability to sign, like more pieces like in the long term because of the mortgage and short term flexibility for one star while leaving long term for control certain. And then I'm also with like the fans too. Like, could this be a lockout season? We don't know for sure yet, but it's not that far of a stretch. We're just going to have to see what the Dodgers are going to do in the next 3 to 4 years while having Kyle Tucker on that team. We're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, one more thing before we move on and get to risers and fallers. I think the Dodgers are always a really good hot button topic. I just looked in because the Dodgers are penalized at a percentage basis. So if you keep spending more, you do get penalized more dollars. They still know they have more than enough. They paid a record, keep setting their own records, $169.4 million in luxury tax for the 2025 season. That is more than almost half the league's payrolls. If you go down to 19th for 2025, the St. Louis Cardinals payroll was $153 million, and you get down to the Rockies, the Reds, the Brewers, the Twins, the Nats, all the way down to the bottom, Miami, who we brought up before. The Dodgers are getting penalized at a higher rate than some teams are spending on their talent on a year-by-year basis. It needs to stop. 2026 is going to be a movie. We'll see what the conclusion is here. I do think it's a hard cap. I don't know what it is. If you average everything out, or if you go to the median here, you're looking in the $180 to $190 million range where you start to crack down those penalties and say, hey, you actually can't do this. We're not going to go the tax the rich route anymore. We're going to start taking picks. We're going to start saying, no, you literally can't do this. It'll force you into a suspension. The repercussions have to be more than just essentially a slap on the hand, which is what MLB has been doing. Okay, for risers and then fallers, we've got people on the upward trajectory and then people going in the exact opposite direction. Sam, we'll start with you.
So my riser for this week is Kevin Alcantara of the Chicago Cubs.
Good pick.
And I've joked about this with some close friends of mine, including my friend Quinn, he just asked a question in the comments. If you want to address that, Corey, I know you have the channel comment section up over there.
Mhm.
I've talked about this with other Cubs fan friends of mine and with some people who have a little know-how in the industry as well. The Ricketts have some kind of Kevin Alcantara, like, to keep things simple, they really like this guy, right? The Owen Casey block is now gone. The Kyle Tucker block is now gone. And Seiya Suzuki, they want to keep as the team's full-time DH. So unless the Cubs decide to bring back a guy like Cody Bellinger or bring in someone else out there in the outfielders market, Kevin Alcantara is probably going to end up playing about 110 or so games this year, if you ask me, especially if he has a good spring. He had 781 OPS in 10 MLB games last year, an 819 OPS at AAA Iowa, including a career-high 17 home runs. Kevin Alcantara is my riser for this week.
The door ripped wide open for him. I didn't think there'd be room for him, even though Seiya is not really a natural right fielder, or he hasn't proven to be the last couple of years. He's kind of been the DH. I was going, I think Casey's the future there. Maybe Alcantara is one of those fringe guys, but another guy, not very similar in almost any attribute, but just in the spot he was in, Alexander Canario. The Cubs essentially said, look, dude, we got about 5 billion outfield prospects marinating in AAA Iowa right now. Go to Pittsburgh. And he wasn't an everyday starter for him, but he was playing more than he otherwise would have. That's not going to be Alcantara, at least for now, because Casey's out the door. Seiya's likely their DH. Moises Ballesteros is kind of the elephant in the room because he's that third catcher, maybe DH option. But Seiya is also in a contract year. Ian Happ is in a contract year, so you have room for guys like Kevin Alcantara to just sneak up there and grow into a big leaguer. My riser is going to be the San Francisco Giants. January 15th is when the international prospect signing window opened, and they got the top guy, Luis Hernandez. And it's tough to really get a prospect profile on these guys because they haven't even played a lick of rookie ball yet. But from what I have been able to read, they are getting a dog in San Francisco, probably 3 to 4 years from now, but they will be getting a dog at some point. He played a stint in the Venezuelan major leagues. He hit 346 across 104 at-bats as a 15-year-old. I know that there's different levels of professional baseball depending on where you are geographically. Some are more competitive than the other. The idea of a 15-year-old playing at the highest level in his respected area and hitting 346 over 100 ABs is really, really impressive to me. His pop right now is more doubles ripped into the gap. I believe it's realistic to expect a now 16-year-old who's 5'10", 172 to grow, to mature, to build out that frame. Those doubles eventually will turn into wall balls and then home runs. We'll see if he ends up being a 30-30 candidate. I want to be careful with that language this early on, but he has all the intangibles right now to project and turn into that. So overall scouting grade of 65. Again, take that with a big grain of salt this early on into somebody's career, but he's well-rounded. He doesn't have some Achilles heel that scouts are really, really worried about. That's why he was the number 1 rated prospect, and the San Francisco Giants jumped on him. So good for them. Brewers did very well in this too. They got 3 top 50 international prospects. You know, in the past, guys like Jackson Churio, Jesus Mate, Luis Pena, they usually cook in this part of the offseason among many others too. So Giants got the number 1 guy. Brewers are building out that depth again.
You know, I was going to say, before we move to Max here, I was going to say that international signing period is going to be a common theme you hear about today. Mm-hmm. So, especially towards the farm features.
Absolutely. Max, what do you got?
I'm actually also going to hop on the Cubs train here. I know you guys last week were talking on the Ballesteros, like his performance, like behind, his performance with the bat, like his offensive power. He got brought up in May of this past season, but I'm actually going to talk about someone else from the Cubs. I'm talking about Jonathan Lawn. This season in AAA, like he's really emerged as one of the top offensive performers, along with Ballesteros when they were playing. 157 hits. That's a lot of hits if you put it into perspective in season. Also with 86 runs, 91 RBIs, but not to mention like 20 home runs. But that helped him earn recognition as one of the system's best hitters, which I completely agree with that. But like his performance is something that people need to watch. And I think he's going to do well with the advanced pitching going into the MLB. I don't want to say like he could be called up this coming season, but like with the way that he's playing, it's not that far of a reach that he could play up for that.
Yeah, Max, I think if he's playing Major League Baseball really soon, which he's playing well enough to do, he's putting those numbers up in AAA Iowa, I think it's for somebody else. I don't know what the Cubs front office is scheming up right now, but you look at, he's a corner infielder. Michael Busch is going to be locked down there at first for a while. I think he's earned the right to say that. Just got Bregman, so there's your third baseman. And then we've already talked about the DH part of the conversation with Alcantara might get more time in right field, but that means Say is your DH, Ballesteros is your third catcher. Jonathan Long is playing so well that I don't think the Cubs can justify keeping him in Iowa if there's a good deal on the table. So if there's someone up and down this pipeline that you go, who's getting dealt really soon if the Cubs swing? I think it's him. He's hitting above 300 at the highest level of minor league baseball. He's going up against really strong comp, but the positions he plays, they're as blocked as anywhere in this Cubs system now. I mean, first and third base are not moving. So maybe he'll get a temporary call-up, or in spring breakout he does some really special things. I think the Cubs are flaunting Jonathan Long as much as they possibly can to anybody who wants to listen. And I think he's kind of a cornerstone in one of those trades. But he's going to be playing Major League Baseball soon. Good work. Good work. All right. That is going to be your risers. Now we go to the exact opposite. Fallers. I don't like to repeat answers on segments. The Marlins are leaving me absolutely no choice. I said in Marlins outfielder last week because Owen Casey entered their pipeline and ultimately their major league outfield. I will say the Marlins outfield again. I brought up Kemp Alderman as my faller last week because he had a fine year, more than fine year in AAA Jacksonville. His ETA is set for 2026, and then the Marlins go out and get Owen Casey. Well, now they dealt Ryan Weathers and got two more top prospects in Dylan Lewis and Brendan Jones, both of which play in the outfield, and they're 14th and 15th in Miami's system. Now, if you want to just go off rankings, they're not jumping Kemp Alderman right now, but they're sure as heck competing with him. If Casey's got that spot in right field locked up or wherever he ends up going, now you have to worry about someone in Dylan Lewis who can do it all. 25, 30 candidate could be his upside. And Brendan Jones right there as solid pieces in this trade. I'm sure if Alderman keeps hitting 300 in AAA, Miami's going to have no choice. But the competition's getting tougher for him. And just like I said about Jonathan Long, if you've got too much talent in one area, ship them off. Keep building. So feeling for those Marlins outfielders and outfield prospects who have been a part of the system for more than a week and a half, 2 weeks here, because they're dealing with a lot now.
You know, there's no reason to prospect hug. We've seen it time and time again. And we're going to, like I said before, foreshadowing the farm features again, I'm going to talk a little bit about prospect hugging as we get closer to that, right? There's no reason to prospect hug. It's the Family Guy gag, you know, trading a boat for the mystery box. Like, the mystery box could be anything. It could even be another boat, right? We talked about this a couple weeks ago in hockey. They say trade for the better puck right now. Who's the better puck? And in this case, who's the better stick? Who's the better glove? Who's the better arm? You trade for that guy. Prospects could turn into anyone, right? And this is, I mean, we can pull up even more examples if we want. The Micah Parsons trade between the Packers and Cowboys. Why would we wait as Green Bay being we, why would we wait for Colin Oliver to turn into Micah Parsons when we can just have Micah Parsons right now?
Yep.
Right? So that's the logic you got to think about as a general manager or as an executive VP, is why wait on these guys to turn into something that they might turn into when we could just have that guy right now. So there's no reason to prospect hug. The Marlins should be trading from a position of strength to go after some guy, especially if they're competing. The Marlins are sneaky. They're a sneaky little team. They're going to win some games they should lose. Granted, every team does that, but the Marlins might win a few more games than most in games that they should be losing. My faller this week, broken record here as we talked about the Dodgers to start this one, but Josue DePaula, Zaire Hope, and Eduardo Quintero are getting screwed over by the greed that is the Dodgers ownership group. Especially bringing in Kyle Tucker. They still have Alex Call, Tommy Edman, Teoscar Hernandez. Mookie Betts can still play the outfield. So they're getting greedy over there in LA. Adding Kyle Tucker throws a wrench in their development if he stays all 4 years, right? These three guys are, I think, respectively 19, 20, and 19 years of age. I don't have it up in front of me, but they're all under 21 years of age. You're really more worried about guys like Mike Sirota and James Tibbs getting their development stunted because they are about 23 years old. They are getting towards the older age of prospects. But that's regardless of the point. I mean, that they are stunting the development of their prospects, which is why I was saying earlier in the show, I alluded to it, this team never has that good of a farm system simply because they go out and sign all these guys. Their biggest real hits in recent memory have been Brusdar Graterol and Yordan Alvarez, which thank God they never got to reap that reward. Because imagine Yordan Alvarez on this team with Shohei Ohtani, on this team with Yoshi Yamamoto and Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, Mookie Betts. I mean, the list goes on, right? Other than that, I mean, it's like Michael Busch.
Yeah.
Can you make the case for Gavin Lux? I mean, like, are those guys truly real hits, right? So the Mookie Betts trade return, just look at this, for example. Jeter Downs and Connor Wong. I'm not going to count Alex Verdugo. He was already an established big leaguer, almost established big leaguer at that point.
Yeah.
But Jeter Downs and Connor Wong. Wong's been all right for Boston. I'll give him that. But can anyone tell me where Jeter Downs plays right now?
Nope.
If you guessed the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks of
Wow.
the NPB, you'd be correct.
Nippon Professional
And he's
Baseball.
been there for, I think, Nippon Pro Baseball, and he wasn't that good over there, spoiler alert, right? So I like a few guys in their system. James Tibbs, Adam Serenowski, obviously Josue DePaula, but this team does not have a great prospect track record, and they're only making it worse by going out and getting guys like Kyle Tucker. But at the same time, just go get the better stick, right?
Yeah, it's not fair. I don't know if there probably are, but I'm not sure if there are many worse positions to be in than being a AAA prospect talent in the Dodgers system. Because do you really have a shot with them? Gavin Lux, you got to go back 10 years, and he wasn't there a whole lot longer than most of these guys. He marinated in the minors for a few years, tore it up towards the end, was a part of their middle infield for a couple of rings. He's not complaining. And then he went off to the Reds. Yeah. Yep. Then he went off to the Reds because they didn't have room for him because they signed someone.
Now
back.
in Tampa Bay too. He was part.
See
he was
that?
part of that 3-teamer.
Yeah, he's
now
moving
at Tampa
around.
Bay Ray.
He's doing the world tour. But Lux had a good year with Cincy too. One of his better years sneakily. So
Solid.
all right, Max, what do we got?
Well, I'm still gonna hop on the Cubs train here. I'm just gonna talk about a particular player, Brandon Birdsell. Like there was a lot of preseason hype coming from him, because before the 2025 season, he was ranked top 10 in prospects in all of Cubs, ranked 8th specifically in it. So there was a lot of hype going to him to a season, but I think it might have been early or middle of the season. I can't remember, but he did suffer an elbow injury. That's highlighted him all this year. He didn't pitch in any affiliate game this season, which kind of stalled his momentum going into the season, and that kind of causes stock to drop. I don't think if the Cubs do want to bring him up, I don't think it's going to be a concern. But they should definitely still, monitor his elbow injury just to make sure he's definitely okay. But they definitely going to have to double check on that.
Yeah, here's what sucks for him. And I was talking to Jacob about this last week when I was doing the Cubs farm feature. You know who's above Brandon Birdsell in terms of, he's number 8 in the pipeline right now, fell a little bit with the injury. You know who's above him in terms of pitching prospects? It's Jackson Wiggins. That's it.
Yeah.
And actually,
Yeah.
Jackson Wiggins is the only top 10 prospect that is a pitcher that is healthy.
Yeah.
And he only was in AAA Iowa for a handful of appearances. So the Cubs have a pitching prospect problem. Yeah. It's not going to rear its ugly head if the rotation and the bullpen get healthy. But Birdsell was supposed to be one of those guys and ended up getting hurt, burnt the elbow out. I hope they don't rush him back. But to your point, Max,
no,
the opportunity was there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the opportunity was there, but like, who else do you have besides him? That guy you were talking about. So there's definitely a problem with the pitching rotation, and then like if some of a player goes down in the Cubs, who are they going to bring up? They only have one option out because Birdsell's injured. So if you're going to go into the draft or whatever, I would try to get more pitching prospects to help fill that void.
Yeah, they're going to have to start that feeder system again because you go down. Caleb Wings, ETA is 2029. He's the 11th prospect. He's a pitcher. Dominic Reed, 16th prospect. He's a pitcher. Hasn't played pro ball yet. Grant Kipp, he's ETA is 2026. Better hurry, buddy, because he hasn't played in AAA yet. So something's going to have to give. Someone's going to have to get healthy. Someone's going to have to get good. Someone's going to have to perform. Or if enough injuries happen, they're going to get thrusted into the limelight anyway. So it's one of those murky issues that might not come up if the Cubs stay healthy. But that's a big if. That is a big, big if. Health is wealth, especially with that situation there. All right, one of our favorite things that we're doing on this show right now is our farm features. But first, before you stick around for that, we have a quick message. If you miss any of our content in live action, don't worry. We've got our podcast on all the following platforms.
Did you miss the live version of our Minor League Weekly podcast? No worries. We've got you covered at Minor League Minute on YouTube and Minor League Weekly on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Then you can go back to watch or listen to the whole episode for all of your prospect and affiliate ball needs. So what are you waiting for? Go follow, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications to get caught up with the latest. That's Minor League Weekly on all of those platforms.
Welcome back to Minor League Weekly on the Minor League Minute YouTube channel, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. You just heard the promo on all those platforms. That's where you can find us, as well as on all of our social media platforms for graphics, content like that. Mock trades, we were cooking in the Tarek Skubal spear a little bit when we thought that deal was going to happen. It still could happen very soon, especially since the Tigers decided to value him at $19 million in arbitration. I'm going to move on from that. Otherwise, this episode will go 2 hours because I got on my soapbox about that.
I'm going
last
to
week.
assume he is not getting paid $19 million.
No,
this
nope.
year.
Or 20 or 25. He said 32. I think he said I'm worth 32, and they said 19.
30.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. Yeah, we'll see what happens there.
Big markets trying to play small. So and note, they're just playing their games. But yeah, let's get into our farm features here. I'll kick things off with the final team in the National League Central to officially mark the halfway point of this series, right? We made it here. It's taken us 7 episodes, but we've got it. I'm going to call Milwaukee the best farm system in all of baseball. And I'm not ashamed to say that loud and say it proud. Yes, I'm a homer. I don't care. This is the best farm in all of baseball. They have 4 prospects currently in the MLB Top 100. Now, remember, we are getting a new Top 100 list very soon. So for now, we got 4 prospects of the Brewers Top 5 in the Top 100, 3 of whom are listed as shortstops, right? So little hint at what the system strength is. Number 1, let's get things started with MLB's 4th overall prospect in Jesus Made. There are a few guys at the top of MLB.com's prospect rankings that could all debut at or before 20 years of age. Made is 1,000% one of those guys. Made already saw time at AA Biloxi last year as an 18-year-old. He's got 60 grades at the hit tool, power tool, and his arm. He's also got 50 field, right? So he's got average to above average fielding to go with that plus arm. He can play anywhere from second base on over to the left side of the infield. He seems to fit better at shortstop or third base. I'm willing to bet he's going to be a shortstop, but he does draw a lot of comparisons to Jose Ramirez, so that's something to keep an eye on going forward. He's got great to elite plate discipline as well so far through his pro career. If my memory serves, he only had like a 15% strikeout rate in the DOSL a couple years ago. So he definitely sees the ball up real well. He has gap to gap power. And I mean, for being a shortstop, you don't really look at shortstops as being that power position. We've talked about it in previous farm features with guys like Vahiva Aloy. You look at dudes in the majors right now, Bobby Witt Jr., Gunnar Henderson. So the trend is starting to become more towards, can my shortstop hit 20 homers a year? The answer is Jesus Mate 100% has the potential to hit 20 homers a year. His 2025 numbers across 115 games at Class A Carolina, which is now Class A Wilson, at High A Wisconsin with the Timber Rattlers, and at Double A Biloxi. He slashed 285, 379, 413, and a 792 OPS, which when you first look at that, you see the 7 up front, you think, I don't know, why is this guy the 4th overall prospect? It's basically an 800 OPS, folks, right? He had an OPS over 1030 at the DOSL in 2024, so this 800 should mean nothing. Like, that shouldn't take away anything, excuse me, regarding that. 129 hits, 28 doubles, 6 homers, 6 triples as well, 61 RBIs, 67 walks, there's that plate discipline, and 47 stolen bases. He's got the speed. This guy has the potential to be a true 5-tool player in the future in Major League Baseball. Projected debut, 2028. I'm going to realistically say 2027.
Good.
Like I said, I think this is a guy that can debut at or before 20 years of age. He turns 19 in May. I've hinted at maybe Made if he is, or Made, see, I keep going back and forth. I've hinted at Made possibly being a September call-up in 2026. Unless he's hitting 30 homers and a 900 OPS across both Biloxi and Nashville the entire season, no, he's not going to be called up this September, because there's a guy a couple spots down that will get that call first. If he somehow gets to Nashville and starts regressing, put him back in Double A. Don't mess this up. If you are the Milwaukee Brewers, you cannot mess up Jesus Mate's progression. This is a guy that might play well into his late 30s, possibly touching 40. A dude I could see as a potential Hall of Famer, and I'm not going to shy away from that claim right now. Number 2 in Milwaukee's system, Luis Pena. He's listed as an infielder, but don't get it twisted. He's a shortstop. He's listed at Major League Baseball's number 18 overall prospect. He's currently the 9th ranked shortstop in MILB. For reference, the top 6 prospects on MLB.com's top 100 are all shortstops. And 7 of the top 10, if you count Colt Emerson, are all shortstops. So Luis Pena being the number 9 shortstop, that's saying a lot, because there are so many talented shortstops in the prospect rankings. He profiles to be a future leadoff hitter for an organization like Milwaukee. If Jesus Mate is the shortstop of the future for the Brewers, I could see Luis Pena being the 3rd baseman or the 2nd baseman to kind of counter that. He has the arm strength to be on that left side of the infield, though, and it would definitely help with his defensive progressions if he continues to get more 3rd base action compared to 2nd base action, but they like bouncing him around. He was the same international signing class as Jesus Mate in 2024, and he torched the DOSL that year in 44 games, just like Mate. His slash line was ridiculous. 393 average, 457 on base, 583 slug, that's a 1040 OPS, 16 doubles, 6 triples, 36 RBIs, 15 strikeouts in 44 games. For those of you keeping score, 8.2% strikeout rate. We talked about Jesus Mate having that elite or great to elite discipline. Luis Pena's got it too. These are 2 guys that see the ball so well and can put it in play and have great bat speed and great exit velos off the bat. I mean, you're looking at the future of this Milwaukee left side of the infield for possibly a decade plus. 2025 numbers in 96 games at Class A and High A, 270, 335, 422 is a slash, 757 OPS. The power came in a little bit more, 6 triples again, but also 9 homers this time and 18 doubles. 64 RBI, 44 stolen bases. He's got speed as well. The numbers were amazing at Class A Carolina, now Class A Wilson. They fell off in his 25 games at High A Wisconsin. So I'm sure that he'll start to see some better numbers and a better track record going forward. It was just his first taste of high A ball, 3 spots away from Major League Baseball. I'm not too concerned. Projected debut 2028. I'm also going to say 2028 because of how well Caleb Durbin was this past year at third base, and because the Brewers might want Jesus Mate up before him at shortstop, and because the next guy, Cooper Pratt, might also debut at shortstop before either of those two, and because Bryce Terang is still at second base. So he needs to see more time at high A before progressing anymore through the system, but he's coming soon too. Him and Mate are going to be part of Milwaukee's left side for a very long time. Number 3, Cooper Pratt, also at shortstop, MLB's 56th overall prospect, and he is the reason you don't want to progress Luis Pena or Jesus Mate through the system too quickly, for better or for worse. He was tearing the cover off the ball at Class A Carolina/Wilson in 2024, 789 OPS there in 73 games. This is a guy who is a defense first. He's a glove first shortstop, and he had an 800 OPS at Class A. Goes up to high A a little too quick. Didn't do so well. And then he debuted and played the entire season last year at Biloxi full time, and the bat really saw some regression back to what we expect out of a glove first shortstop. 120 games, 691 OPS, 104 hits, 22 doubles, 8 homers, 62 RBIs. Right? So, not really all that bad when you average it out to 162 games. 10 homer shortstop, 680, 690 OPS, which is a little below average, but it's primarily because of the excuse me, kind of tripping out over here. It's because he doesn't hit the ball for power, right? That's primarily why that OPS dipped. But his strikeout numbers dipped. His walks went up. So not all of his batting was bad last year at Double-A. It was more so that he just wasn't finding gaps. He wasn't hitting the ball over the fence. Cooper Pratt, the bat just wasn't all there, but the eyes were there. So there's still stuff to be excited about with Cooper Pratt. Don't get me wrong. It's just he is the textbook example of why you don't progress guys too quick through the system. He had a lot of hype in 2024. A lot of hype. I was thinking that this guy might be a 2025 call-up, and that obviously didn't happen. He's, like I said, he's always been more of a defense-first shortstop, so the bat struggling shouldn't really surprise anyone. I think it does turn around in 2026 if he starts at Double-A, which he likely will. If it looks good at Triple-A, why not give him a chance in 2026 as a September call-up, right? He's projected 2027 to debut. I'm going to go September of this year. I think he's a September call-up, especially if Joey Ortiz starts playing really bad again. Joey Ortiz is the definition of glove-first shortstop, right? His bat's never been great. The glove has always been there. That's why you can't take him out of the lineup. So if Cooper Pratt is tearing it up at Nashville and Joey Ortiz can't figure it out at the big league level, what's the harm in giving Pratt a shot, right? So Andy's got the age factor over guys like Luis Pena and Jesus Mate so far. So I could see Cooper Pratt getting the call this season. Number 4, Jefferson Caro, catcher, MLB's 84th overall prospect. He was 2024's number 3 overall catcher in MILB, but fell out of the top 10 in 2025 due to that injury he suffered in 24. We talked about Caro a few weeks ago on the show, if my memory serves, so I'll just keep it brief here with Caro. 839 OPS in 69 games between the Complex League Brewers and AAA Nashville. Only 40 strikeouts. He's got a great eye as well. 11 homers this year, and he still has that 70-grade fielding and 60-grade arm despite that injury. He's debuting this year. I'm not surprised that the Brewers have yet to go after a backup catcher in free agency or even on the trade market because Caro is ready to debut. He's ready to roll. He's a defense-first catcher. This is a perfect guy to have on off days for William Contreras or on days that William Contreras is going to be your DH. That he's going to get 50 to 60 games behind the dish this year. I imagine he'll bat about 230 with 8 home runs because that's just what backup catchers do, and it'll be a good starting point for Caro to build off of. I see 2026 for the Brewers' 4th overall prospect. And at number 5, he was a top 100 prospect at one point this past year. Logan Henderson, starting pitcher, returning to the Brewers in 2026. He had a right elbow flexor strain that forced his 25 season to be cut short. he's nuts. He is nails on the mound, and his fastball doesn't overpower guys, right? It tops out about 95, 96. It averages between 91 and 94. So this is a dude that would have been an ace on the mound in like 1999, 2000, right? He's your traditional pitcher, 4-pitch mix, a good changeup. He's got a slider, and then he throws a fastball, and he's got a cut fastball as well just to add some extra movement. The changeup is his money pitch, though. Has 18.8 inches of horizontal movement towards the right-handed batter, 5th best in all of baseball. That's the 5th best mark. Granted, he didn't pitch enough innings to be considered qualified, so I had to look at the unqualified rankings on Baseball Savant, but even if he was qualified, it would have put him at 4th in all of baseball, behind guys like Devin Williams, right? So you got to look at his combined numbers here in 2025 between Nashville and MLB, because his matchups in MLB were against some weaker foes, right? Like the Nationals last year, he pitched against them, and then a couple other starts against some more bottom feeder teams in MLB. So we're going to combine his numbers between Nashville and MLB. 21 games, 20 of them starts. He had 103 innings pitched total in 2025, 13-4 record, 3.15 ERA with only 32 walks in 103 innings, and over 120 or at 120 strikeouts, which is good for just over 11 strikeouts per 9. And his WHIP was right around 1 on the dot. He already debuted, and he's here to stay. Logan Henderson is going to end up being either the long relief option for the Brewers this year or their 5-starter, right? They got 2 guys in Chad Patrick and Logan Henderson that are very similar. Chad Patrick, if that velo increases, side note here, if his velo goes up, we're looking at another Corbin Burns in Chad Patrick. So I love what Logan Henderson did last year in his limited sample size in Major League Baseball. It's only going to get better from here, too. There's a lot of hype on the Logan Henderson train. He's like the anti-Jacob Mizorowski. He has no velo, but he's got that changeup, and it's so wicked. Diamond in the rough for this system, Blake Burke. First base prospect, Milwaukee's number 29. I love me some power hitters in that top 30. I talked about Davison De Los Santos a few weeks ago with the Marlins farm feature. Now I want to talk about Blake Burke. He's another corner infielder, first baseman primarily. In 72 games at Tennessee in 2024, he had an 1151 OPS. He also had 50 career home runs at Tennessee, 20 of them coming in that 2024 season. He was solid last year at High A Wisconsin, 95 games there. Played 37 at Double A Biloxi and somehow got better. So his 37 games there, slash line was 300, 377, 579. That's good for a 956 OPS, 42 hits, 11 homers. He also had 82 total RBI in the season last year. The swing is still a little bit trigger happy, according to multiple scouting reports. He had 135 strikeouts across both levels last year in, what's that, do the quick math, 132 games. So a little bit on the heavy on the strikeout side for Blake Burke. The arm is meh, and his speed is pretty bad. It's 30 grade speed. But I'm going to ask you a question here. When's the last time the Brewers cared about how well their first baseman could run? Let me just run down the list. You had Prince Fielder. You had the second rendition of Lyle Overbay on your team. You had Adam Lind, Chris Carter, Jesus Aguilar, Eric Thames, Justin Smoke, and let me top this, put the cherry on top here, Rowdy Tellez and Daniel Vogelback. I could go on, right? So when is the last time they actually cared about how fast their first basemen were? Projected debut is 2027. I'm going to go 2027 as well. Andrew Vaughn's probably going to be solid again. And you can only bring back Jake Bauers via arbitration so many times. So Burke's going to get his turn if he still continues to hit like this. Quickly, before we move on, system strength. I got shortstop. Having 2 of the top 10 shortstop prospects in baseball will automatically make this your team strength. But there's even more good shortstops past their top 3, including Brady Ebel and Daniel Dickinson, who was at LSU in 2025. System weaknesses, left-handed pitching. The Brewers have had their pitching lab for a while now, but isn't it odd that they seemingly only produce right-handed pitching? I mean, you take away Rob Gasser, who's barely even a prospect anymore, and the Brewers only have 2 lefties in their top 30. The last 2 lefties Milwaukee developed were Josh Hader, and they developed Aaron Ashby. Antoine Kelly was a flop. Angel Perdomo was a flop. Ethan Small, Russell Smith. I could go on, right? So, in conclusion, Milwaukee's got the best farm system in baseball. There are some holes to be patched, but there are a lot more diamonds in the rough than just Blake Burke. Watch out for Milwaukee. They're putting themselves in a position to be competitive for years to come.
Well done. And I love the tease that you had about half an hour ago of, hey, speaking of the international market, we got plenty of those coming to the Cream City. Quick question for you, Sam, before we move on. Made, Pena, Pratt. As fun as it is to imagine they share the infielder, or they share the infield for years to come, one's got to go. Who goes?
Cooper Pratt.
You think so?
Very easily, Cooper Pratt. And I think you could even make the case if the Brewers are in the same position at the trade deadline this year that they were last year, instead of being quiet this time around, they shop Cooper Pratt. And they shop a couple other prospects in the system. I don't want them to shop Andrew Fisher, but shop Andrew Fisher, shop Eric Batanti, shop Blake Burke. Move these guys around and bring in that big hitter that the fan base so desperately wants, or bring in an ace level pitcher to go with Freddie Peralta for half a season, a guy that might have some control. This is what the fan base wants. The depth is so good, but you don't want a prospect hug because they have a lot of flops. Every organization does. You don't know for sure until they debut if these guys are any good at the big league level. So why hedge these guys based on what they could be when you can go get someone that is?
Yeah, it's a great point. And whenever I see shortstop with a prospect, I try and be careful and preface, well, that's a flexible position. Made, Pena, and Pratt aren't hanging out in rookie ball. Like, they're all expected to debut in a couple years or less. You cannot have three shortstops.
They all might be on the AA roster to start the year.
Yeah.
I doubt that happens. I think Luis Pena starts at Wisconsin, and maybe even Made does too. But there's real potential that, let's just say by May or like late May, early June, all three of those guys are at Biloxi, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Which would be ridiculous.
Selfishly, I want Made to come back to Wisconsin for like a month. You know, he's like an hour and a half from where I live. Wouldn't mind seeing him a little bit more. But those three guys are phenomenal prospects. I can't wait to see what the future looks like there. Obviously, some Brewers fans getting eager with Ortiz having a subpar bat through his first couple of years, but really good glove. We shall see. All right, that wraps up the first half of all of our farm features. 15 down, 15 to go. And we start the second half with the Chicago White Sox. We'll go top 5 strengths, weaknesses, diamond in the rough. I had a chance to talk to Dan Haloti. He's the low A broadcaster for the Kannapolis Cannonballers. A couple of weeks ago, he visited our podcast because the White Sox have the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft. So they're going to get to build this farm that's already really good. Number 1's Braden Montgomery, an outfielder. ETA is 2027. If scouts could make just a baseline skill set in the lab, and I say baseline because he's got to develop a little bit, this would be it. Montgomery is a switch-hitting power hitter, and he's starting to add more pop to his game. Making his pro debut in 2024, he played across 3 different levels of minor league ball and hit .270 with 12 home runs and an .804 OPS. Not bad, but it keeps going up. This guy was one of the return pieces in the Garrett Crochet trade. Chase Mydroth was in there, debuted, had a nice rookie year. Kyle Teal was in there, debuted, had a nice rookie year. And it was the Red Sox who picked Montgomery, 12th overall, in the 2024 MLB draft. He's got a 70 grade arm. It stands out from the rest of those skill sets, and that makes sense considering he's another one of those guys who just casually pitched in college and threw 96, and now he's out there in the outfield throwing seeds. So not always wanting to hit his cutoff, man. He likes to show that arm off a little bit. Thing to work on. He may be a switch hitter, but he's been struggling a lot as a righty. In college, he hit just .227 with a 29% strikeout rate from the right side, tendency to chase. From a left side, he hit well over 300. So there's a stark drop-off there. Number 2 is Noah Schultz. We'll get your guys' input on him in a little bit here because he is fun. Left-handed pitcher, expected to debut this year. One of the most electric pitching prospects in baseball today. A fastball slider 1-2 punch comes with scouting grades of 60 and 65 for the slider. He's 6'10", and while that 99-mile-an-hour fastball is impressive, it's a 3/4 arm slot that makes his wipeout slider from that 6'10" frame that much more deadly. 11.4 K per 9 rate across 3 years of pro ball. Stylistically, scouts are saying think Randy Johnson, but at 22 years old and more developed than Randy Johnson was at 22 years old.
Wow.
Scary to think about. So lofty comp. He has to live up to that if that's what we're going to tab him with. But for someone who's 6'10", something that should be reassuring to Sox fans, he is fluid. It's a repeatable motion, great body control, not a whole lot of elbow issues either for someone throwing 99. So still working on that tertiary pitch. Right now it's looking like it's going to be the upper 80s changeup. Doesn't use it a ton, but if you want to be a starter, you got to be able to have at least 3 pitches, preferably 4 or 5, to work with. Guys, kind of open-ended question here, but what is it about the freaking White Sox and having dominant lefties? They've had Crochet, they've had Chris Sale, and I don't know, comparing someone to Randy Johnson seems really lofty, but depending on what you've seen about Noah Schultz, I think it's a fair comparison just based on how he looks.
They're the anti-Brewers, really.
Yep.
Developing all those lefties. But like you said, that is a very, very lofty comparison. I don't know if you can be a Randy Johnson when you just have like 2-pitch mix, really, maybe a 3-pitch mix. Granted, though, that's all Randy had, but he also played in an era of baseball where it was a little easier to get past guys with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball with some length in that delivery. But dudes around today's game are a little more accustomed to facing that level of pitching. So who knows, right? Like I said, we don't know how good these guys will be at the big league level until they're there. But Noah Schultz, the sky seems to be the limit right now, and he's already about halfway there because of how tall he is.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. At least it's not Randy Johnson, pitching, hitting a bird like mid-pitch or whatever.
Noah Schultz is going to have to do that to be the true Randy Johnson 2.0, right? All right. So
but
yeah, that's 1 and 2.
But he's just but he's just impressive. I mean like 99 miles an hour, just like, and he's still developing too, which he's going to be scary, but kind of to, Sam's point here, that's kind of a lofty comparison. If you're just comparing to other pitchers, it's not fair to be compared to Randy Johnson, but he has the stuff, but again, being compared to him, it's kind of lopsided.
Yeah, it's like, I'm going to take it like this. These scouts aren't going to throw those comparisons out there for nothing. And here's the thing. He doesn't need to be Randy Johnson. He needs to be a good starting pitcher. There's another guy in the top 5 I'll bring up in a moment who can pair with a pretty respectable rotation right now. Sox won a league worst in league history, 41 games 2 years ago. They just need him to be decent. They just need him to be a competent major league pitcher with some good stuff. And the next guy, not a pitcher, but someone that could be the future shortstop in right field, it's Billy Carlson, ETAing in 2029. First-round pick from this year. He went to Corona High School in California. It's a school that produced a pair of top 10 picks. Seth Hernandez to the Pirates went 6th overall. That was Billy Carlson's teammate who went 10th overall for the Sox after they went 41 and 121. They somehow got stuck with the 10th overall pick. Got a little luckier this year. Carlson has remarkable hand-eye coordination. He's scouted as being able to make any throw at any angle off any platform. Scouts have him as the best infield arm in that draft, saying he's smooth, he's got the quick feet, checks off all the boxes, also referred to as a gold glover waiting to happen. We'll see if that's in the minor leagues and or the major leagues. Offensively, he has expected 20 home run power, does mess around with his stance and likes to tweak the swing a lot. Coaches in the past have tried to tell him just to stay stable, get really good at something, and then make the tweaks. Sometimes, as of late, he's gotten too long with that swing, holds off more of a passive batter at times, or looks like more of a passive batter at times, kind of saws off the swing. Excited to see the 70-grade arm and the 70-grade fielding attributes debut in a couple of months in Pro Bowl. At least number 4 is the only non-first rounder in the White Sox top 5 right now. All the other guys were picked in the first round. Caleb Bonnemer, he's a middle infielder, starting to shift to that left side, listed as a shortstop or third baseman. He's scouted as having one of the quickest swings in the 2024 prep class. Bonnemer generates plenty of power to pair with that hand-eye coordination. High hands position at the plate. He's had to work on timing at moments. Year 1 in the pros was a good one for Bonnemer. Spent most of his 107-game season in single-A Kannapolis with the Cannonballers. Hit .281 with 12 homers, 64 ribbies, .874 OPS. He has a violent swing. It's one of the many attributes that made him Michigan's Gatorade High School Player of the Year, not once, but twice his last 2 years of high school. Swing is so violent, though, as a byproduct, he's a little slow out of the box. And I only say that because once he actually gets going and accelerates, he's got a good 60-yard dash time. It's just let go of that bat and start your running motion a little sooner. There's still a debate going on whether he'll be at short or stretch over to third, and that debate's allowed to go on for a while. They're not expecting him to ETA for another 2 years after this year. Number 5, guys, this dude has the craziest story I think I've seen out of a high school player. Hagen Smith, left-handed pitcher, 2026. Every time I go to his scouting report, I refuse to believe this. He took his junior year off, had Tommy John surgery, very sore elbow, life's not great. Comes back, not only healthy, he tossed 7 no-hitters his senior year. Sam, you've played high school baseball. How many no-hitters have you been in person for? Ever. Like, that is unbelievable.
I think I've been there on the field for a couple one-hitters.
Yeah.
Like, maybe 2 or 3 of those, but I don't think I've ever seen or experienced a no-hitter when I was in high school playing ball.
And he threw 7 in one season.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, high school seasons are a little different. It's like 2 to 3 games a week, so sometimes you can get away with pitching like every third game, right? Even if that's the case, what did Hagen Smith throw? Like 10, 15 games? And he had a no-hitter in half of them? Maybe more? That's
yeah.
I don't know what the comp was, but it's high school baseball.
Yucky.
You're playing against other people who competed and tried out. It's nuts. So that was Hagen Smith in high school. Surely he can't get better and set the bar even higher, right? Wrong. Off to Arkansas he goes to be a Razorback, where he won SEC Pitcher of the Year honors and set an NCAA Division I record with a, not a typo, 17.3 K per 9 mark. Striking out 2 out of every 3 guys when he registers an out. Unbelievable stuff, right? So things are going well, right? Things are going well. 7 no-nos. Yeah, all of a sudden you're striking out 17 per 9 in the conference for baseball at his time. All types of upsides. So it's going to translate to the pros, right? Hopefully. It hasn't yet. Hagen has had trouble locating what is now a mid-90s heater. It is down a couple of ticks. The elbow's starting to get a little sore, according to scouts last year, which is not great. Slider is not as sharp. It's not generating a ton of chases. He's not fooling guys anymore. And then this past summer, the elbow flares came up even more to the point where they had to start watching his innings. So Sox coaching staff is actually tweaking his delivery as we speak. They're looking at quieting it down, slowing it down, looking for a less violent motion. That might lead to less velo. We will see. Despite all those struggles I just mentioned, though, here are his numbers. He struck out 108 hitters in 75 and 2/3 innings pitched. It's not the 17.3 K per 9 anymore. Still pretty damn good. He did walk 56 hitters in 75 innings. So the control is alarming. The lack of an ability to locate that slider and create any deception is alarming. Still had a semi-respectable ERA. I still am holding out hope that the future of the White Sox rotation is Hagen Smith and Noah Schultz in some order, 1-2. Probably not this year, maybe next year. Noah Schultz is projected to go up this year. So is Hagen Smith, but depending on what the soreness looks like and how much they have to limit his innings, I am going to caution myself. Strengths are going to be easily pitching between those two as long as Hagen can reel it in. Weaknesses is high-level hitting, specifically high up in the pipeline. No hitters in the Sox top 10 listed prospects right now, again, we're going to get a new list soon, are expected to debut in 2026. And this team is in dire need of run support in the big leagues right now. Mydroth and Teal just graduated not too long ago. Colson Montgomery has a lot of pop, but he was hitting around the Mendoza line. It's about that next generation coming up. My diamond in the rough is someone who I actually saw in the Northwoods League a couple of years ago. He's a 17-year-old playing against 20, 21-year-olds and hitting moonshots off him. It's George Wolko. He played for the Green Bay Rockers when they won it all a few years back. He's number 10 in this system. He's an outfielder, ETA 2027. Kannapolis Cannonballers broadcaster Dan Haloti joined me on the channel a couple weeks ago and said this guy is a freak athlete, and when he sweet spots a ball, no one is hitting it further than anybody. He has not been able to see a human being in person that can generate as much power as George Wolko when he times it up. Now, the problem, he's not timing it up very often right now. He's 6'7", 240, all the power in the world when he connects right. 13 homers, 69 runs batted in, 770 OPS is fine in Kannapolis this past summer, but those home runs aren't wall scrapers. They go 400 and something feet. So, 19 years old. Yeah.
You mean to tell me
here we
that
go.
they have Randy Johnson and Aaron Judge
Yeah.
in their top?
6'7",
That's
240.
awesome.
Yeah. 6'7",
That's
240.
wicked. And Aaron Judge had his struggles early on too. Let's not forget that. He was a little bit of an older prospect, but he also had his struggles early on. So this is nuts. That we could be seeing a potential Judge archetype of a player in George Wilco.
He's huge. And Dan had told me 240 is being very, very generous. With all the muscle he's packing on, that 6'7" frame, he does not look like a string bean. It's not out of the stretch of the imagination to show up for media day and all of a sudden see 255, 260 next to him, right? So that's very scary to think about. And before we pass it on to you, Max, we've been talking about different teams, the Marlins, the Athletics. They're sleeping around 500 right now. Can they make a leap? Now, the Sox are still well below 500, but when some of these guys get up and graduate, your George Wolcos, your Schultz, your Hagen Smiths of the world, I will put my name next to it right now, especially with how wide open the AL Central could be. Don't be shocked if the Sox are in the playoffs, at least as a wild card team in 2027. Not this year, but next year. These guys come up, I'm seeing a lot of wins. Now, we're betting on prospects to do well when they debut, but if they do, look out. Look out for the Chicago White Sox and what could be a really fun turnaround. Yep, go ahead, Max.
Max, go ahead and take it away.
Oh,
you got
shoot.
Detroit.
Yeah. So, sorry. I totally just zoned out for 5 seconds, so I apologize for that. So like you said, I'm gonna go over the top 5 prospects in the Detroit Tigers system. We're gonna go over at number 1. I'm gonna start from 1, then go down to 5. At 1, I have Kevin McGonigal. He's a shortstop, second baseman. His projected MLB debut is between this season and the 2027 season, but it could go either way. He's widely viewed as one of the top prospects in the Tiger system, and possibly one of the best overall prospects in baseball because of his elite tool. His plate discipline is off the charts, and also he has emerging power too. And then it all started back at a Catholic school in Pennsylvania. Yes, he played at the Catholic school. He hit a .457 with 11 homers as a junior, but his average went up as a senior with a .474. That earned him a Delaware County Player of the Year, Philadelphia Catholic League Player of the Year, and Pennsylvania Gatorade Player of the Year honors. Like, those awards that you earned all high school. Like, very few prospects are earning a lot of awards in high school. But he also played USA Baseball Prospect Development Pipeline for the USA team, the UA team, national team. But that was before he was selected as the 37th overall pick in the 2023 draft. And then he originally committed to Auburn, but he opted out of it and signed a $2.85 million contract. But since he did turn pro, he's hit at every level. He's posting a .305 average with 19 home runs, 80 RBIs, 10 stolen bases, and an OPS of .991 in a recent full season sample. That's astronomical. And then while consistently walking more than he strikes out of the remaining in OBP north of .400. McGonigal did break out in 2024 despite suffering a hamstring injury. And then that season he was still averaging a .309, .401, .452. And then he won the Florida State League MVP. That elevated him into the league prospect territory in 2025. by dominating in high A and double A and earning an MLB feature game selection, ranking as a high number 1 and 2 overall prospect on a lot of people's lists. And he won the Arizona Fall League MVP. But going to his scouting grade, his 70, he has a 70 plus. I'm sorry, not 70 plus. His power scoring is between 55 and a 60, and rising. His fielding is 45 and 50. That's projecting him long term at second or third base with an average arm and run tool, and having the option to go either play second or third base. It gives him a lot of versatility to help out at the next level if he does get there. Right, and then right now in Detroit, he's projected as a top of the order or number 2 hitter who can consistently boost on-base percentage, extra innings, and anchor the lineup upon arrival with an estimated MLB debut, like I said, of 2026 or 2027. I'm leaning more towards actually like mid to late the 2026 if he can consistently improve on what he's playing right now. But going to number 2, I got Max Clark. He's the center field. He's projected 2027. He is one of the crown jewels in the whole entire Detroit Tigers organization, and a future cornerstone outfielder. He is best known for his 5-tool upside. His elite athleticism, his on-base percentage skills, is right through the roots. He started with USA Baseball at a U18 level. Then he entered the 2023 draft as a top 3 talent, leading the Tigers to select him at the number 3 overall pick. Detroit viewed Clark as a franchise-type player, valuing his plus defense in center field, his high IQ, strong plate discipline, and on-tap power potential. Those are great things to have in a prospect. But since he turned pro, Clark has steadily climbed the system, showing maturity at a very young age. But he reached the double A as a teenager. He's continuing to trend upwards, posting a .71 average, 14 home runs, 67 RBIs, 19 stolen bases, OPS of .835. It is a little bit down from high school and a little bit down from college, but that's still really, really good. Like, despite him moving up. And then his tool grade right now is at a 55. That's including power. His run tools is a clear 70. That's gonna be awfully dangerous because he's gonna be able to read. He's gonna be able to read the offense. He's gonna be able to steal bases at a very high level. That's something that people do need to watch on that. Right now he's projected as a number 2 hitter. Right now, his projected is 2027, but I'm gonna say this: I think he could be called this season. I can see that he has the tools to make it up there.
Definitely
So,
a chance, because especially considering Detroit's outfield. We talked about this in the Tarek Skubal trade episode, potential destinations for him. I had Terry Skubal going to Boston and Nate Eaton going back to Detroit as part of that package as a 4th outfielder. Detroit is thin in the outfield. I could definitely see a world in which Max Clark does get a debut in June or July. I could see that, especially if he's torching up AAA Toledo.
And the other thing too, like
Yeah,
Max
and
has a
then-
lot of power, but the speed is something I think hasn't been brought up a whole lot with him in the past. 19 stolen bases in the stint with Double-A Erie, but this is a guy who was grading almost as high as any other tool with his speed too. I don't want to throw around 5-tool player with every top prospect we see, but with Max Clark, if he can just lay off the off speed and have good plate discipline, I think he actually fills out all those categories. He's got a flashy arm. He can hit the ball really, really far. He's extremely fast. 30-30 is not out of the realm of possibility. This guy ends up being what we expect him to be.
Yeah, and then like you said, just going back, like a lot of people are not looking at how fast he can run. Like I think a lot of teams not looking at what he's already done. He's just gonna blow past through. Um, I think a lot of teams are going to be surprised how fast he is. But I'm gonna try to continue with the top list because I feel like I've been going, too long or whatever. But
good.
I'll try to keep it. I'll try to keep this other three players concise as I possibly can. We're going to number 3. We're going to Bryce Reiner. Believe I'm saying that correctly. He's a shortstop. Right now he's projected to be 2028 or later. He's one of the highest upside position players right now in the system, and the key long-term development piece. After he was selected in the 2024 MLB draft, he's a highly touted amateur bat. Rainer quickly stood out for his loud exit velocities, natural strength, and gap power. He's projecting as a future impact infielder once he's fully developed, which it will take time, but I think he can get there. He did open up his pro career with single A, posting a .288 average, 5 home runs, 22 RBIs, 9 stolen bases, OPS .831. It is not that bad. But I will say this: his momentum did slow down a little bit just this past season. He did undergo shoulder surgery, which did cost him much of the season, but endeavors remain bullish on his long-term ceiling due to his bat speed, raw power, athletic build. Despite that he did miss time, he's still viewed as a potential middle-of-the-order threat once healthy and fully developed, which I think he will eventually. He will get there. But from a scouting perspective, his tools his point tools are pointed to kind of a high risk, high reward profile, just because with his injuries or whatever. His tool grade is at a 50 right now. With the projection for improvement as he gains reps and refines his pitching recognition. His power grade is at a 60, but that's driven by elite exit velocities and the ability to drive the ball, I cannot talk today. What's going on with me? Velocity and the ability to drive the ball down both gaps with 20 home run potential, and I think he can get there. But defensively, his grade is at a 52-55, with the athleticism to remain at shortstop early, but there's a likely long-term fit at third base. And that's just kind of depending on his body development and just kind of what he turns out if he does get to the MLB level. His arm grade is at a 60, easily strong enough for the left side of the midfield, while his run tool grade is at 55, that's making him capable. He's making him a capable base runner and an added offensive threat. Right now, his estimated debut is 2028. I'm going to have to agree with that. I think he still needs to recover from his injury and still kind of develop a few parts of his game if he does want to make there. But I could definitely see that piece of it. And then going to number 4, there's a couple of these names that, like, before the podcast, wherever, I was trying to get these names down all day, so so I'll try to pronounce these as best as I can. I believe I'm pronouncing this right. Jose Brasino. I believe I'm saying that right, but you guys can correct me on that.
Yeah, it's Briseño. Briseño. Josue Briseño.
Briseño.
Yep.
Briseño. Yeah, I'll say it's with those names where the enunciation is just a little bit hard for me to, try to enunciate or whatever. But he plays center and he plays first base. Right now, he's projected late 2026 or 2027. But he's emerged as one of the Tigers' most intriguing offensive prospects. He's gained significant momentum after a breakout season in the Arizona Fall League, where he flashed legitimate big power against the top competition. He's a switch hitting catcher by development. He steadily improved his offensive power upon the minors and produced at a high level with the Double-A Erie. He's posted a 2.66 average, 20 home runs, 76 RBIs, 1 stolen base, which I don't want to include 1 stolen base, but probably doesn't matter. And then .883 OPS. There's definitely a little bit of room there, but like the 20 home runs is a little intriguing. But his combination of strength, improving approach, his ability to drive the ball down the field, has elevated him from organization depths into a legitimate MLB option. But while his ultimate defensive home may not be behind the plate, his bat has become loud enough that it could accelerate his timeline if production continues, especially if Detroit has a need for power at a catcher, first base, or DH. So when I'm talking about he could be a late 2026 or 2027, I think he could actually be mid 2026. Just based on just power alone, like it could really help the Tigers in that side. And going with power, his grade is at a 60. That's giving that he has the ability. He already has the ability to like hit the ball with leverage, carry it to the pole side. And then he has the ability that he could potentially hit 25, 30 home runs a season in the MLB. Like, I don't see why not. But right now he's projected in the middle of the order of power, whose value is tied to the offensive production. But if he's going to hit like 25 plus 30 home runs, why not have him hit on number 3 or number 4 spot? Like, why not have him be placed in that order? And then, like I said before, his most likely window is 2027. Though a lot of people are saying it's late 2026. I'm saying it's middle 2026. Like maybe give him like a couple months in the minors, just develop a little bit of his game and then call him up. I can see that. And then at number 5, and then I probably butcher his name again because I was trying to, I was trying to like say it in my head like 20 times, like, okay, get this name right. I can do it. Thyron Lorenzo. I believe that is the right enunciation for this. And then
last name would be Lorenzo.
Lorenzo. Thank you. Yeah. Again, a lot like Jose, he is also a center and first base. But his projection is 2026, 2027. He remains one of the Detroit Tigers' best catching prospects. He is showing growing pains at Double-A level, while the jump in competition exposed areas of his swing that still needs refinement. I think he could get there. He has he's signed originally as a high upside international prospect. He's been long valued for his raw power, strong discipline at the plate, his physical tools behind the plate. At a Double Erie, the average is not the greatest. .206, 11 home runs, 45 RBIs, and then the OPS of a 659. So the numbers do reflect inconsistency, like with his play, but also underlined his power potential, his willingness to take walks. And then while he did have offensive production dipped against more advanced pitching as he continues to go up, but his endeavors do continue to see a catcher with type strength and approach that can adjust over time. And yeah, and then from a scouting perspective, there's a clear blend of upside and risk with him too. His hit tool is not great. It's a 45. But he has shown sign of power, so I do believe that he could work on just stronger at the plate. he could potentially work on that. But what's probably his greatest part of the game is his arm. His great arm is the 60, and that's above average comparing to all the other catching prospects. Is right up there. So in that position he could potentially fit right in. Like I said, his MLB debut is between 2026 2027. But I think 2027 remains likely as when he can potentially go up to that full time. And then let's go right into the strengths and also weaknesses of the Tiger system. I won't go into too much, but I'll kind of just give a brief summary just on strength alone. Like I said earlier, they have a strong high healing hitters in Kevin McGonigal, Max Clark. They're true impact hitters that could help him at the MLB level with Jose, and then also Sean Anderson, which I didn't mention on the top 5, but it could provide more depth and also more power and on base skills with that too. And then analysts consistently knows that the Tigers position players prospect combine the fans' contact skills, play discipline, power potential, giving the organization a top-tier offensive profile. But the versatility, that's also where they're strong at too. Like I said, McGonigal can play multiple positions in the infield. Clark can really anchor the center field. Multiple catchers and versatile infielders increase the depth, providing assurance against injuries. And that's really going to help them really in the long run. That versatility allows the Tigers to move pieces around at the MLB level and also in the minors as well. That's going to maximize the talent development. And then, but where I think they could be a little bit more stronger at, which I'm gonna go into the weaknesses of them, which I'll touch all these briefly too. Is
and then Max,
weaknesses
actually,
on the.
I think you've got a really good. I'm just looking at our outline here. The quick summary at the end. I think that's gonna encapsulate it. Just like if you could mention the top part of the weaknesses, and then we can kind of toss it around and dive into what the Tigers got to work on a little bit.
So just a quick summary that I have, written down like underneath the weaknesses or whatever that you're talking about. Their system is elite at the top, especially on the offensive side with the bats, versatility, play discipline. However, it does carry the risk in depth development that depth beyond the top prospects, health development, uncertainties, tender pitching depth, protections at the lower levels that could in fact sustain MLB's successes if injuries or setbacks occur. Like that's something that they should obviously touch on. And then kind of speaking about injuries too, which actually Cory, I'm glad you said that, because one of the weaknesses that I have on here is one of the weaknesses is health and development risk. Like Bryce Rayner, he had like I said, he had that shoulder injury. He has faced setbacks to it, but those risks are common with highly touchy-on players. But the underscore, the fragility of the system is on his top-tier talent like him. So that's kind of like one of the main points on their weaknesses. But I just want to touch on one more thing with the weaknesses before we go on to the next thing. It's their pitching depth. That's kind of where they're kind of weak at. The pitching depth is thinner than the position player side. And etc. Miller, Ham, Sears, those players. And then unlike the offensive prospects, the farm system, they lack a deep tool of future. MLB stars projected to anchor on a rotation long term. And then that's something they need to figure out. And the teams with balanced systems usually have multiple pitchers near MLB ready, and Detroit currently has less players right now that are not ready to make that jump yet, despite having some upside arms. So that's kind of something that the organization kind of needs to take a closer look at it.
Yeah, very well done, Max. I think they've got the top end names, right? I think Kevin McGonigal and Connor Griffin might be competing for a batting title in a couple of years. There's some really strong tools with Max Clark having the speed. And to your point with the weakness, Tarek Skubal doesn't work out, which if you're saying he's worth $19 million in arbitration, it's probably not going to work out. I don't know if he's going to go to the Mets or the Dodgers or somewhere else. But the other shoe is going to drop in that you need other individuals who are going to join Casey Mize up there in that starting rotation. I don't know if they have a lot of internal farm talent that's really going to do that right now. And with the injuries, I hope anybody having elbow soreness follows exactly what they did with Casey Mize.
Yeah.
He throws harder than he did before he had Tommy John surgery because his mechanics are better now. It's all lower body. It's all torque. Not a whole lot of flare-ups on the shoulder or the elbow in general. So to that I say, they've got it figured out, even if you have guys who are a little more fragile. But use Casey Mize. All 30 teams. Use Casey Mize and what they did with him as a case study. It might be premature. He's not far out from the surgery, but he's throwing harder. He looks less stressed, and he had a really, really strong season when he was starting to enter bust territory after being the number 1 overall pick a few years ago. Awesome job, Max. We're going to quickly go to our final segment here. Low A title team. The first one of a couple we'll cover. The San Jose Giants. They're the San Francisco Giants low A affiliate. Quick cliff notes on them. 81 and 51 overall. That 81 win mark is the most they've had since 2013. They had the best record among all single A teams. Led the California League in a lot of different categories. To name a few, runs 6.1 a game. Average as a team, 261. An ERA hovering around 3.5. And a run differential of 251. We haven't talked a whole lot about the Giants farm system in general. They've got some really fun talents marinating in those lower levels right now that are going to come up sooner than later. Luciano was a big name in their system a couple years ago who ended up debuting. We're just going to quickly go over who stuck out. And the one name for me, look, low A playoffs. No, you don't have 50,000 people attending your games, but your season's on the line. You are in a postseason-like atmosphere, and in that atmosphere, number 12 prospect Trevor Cohen hit .438 in a brief postseason stint. That stuff's important to me, man, and I know the managerial staff's looking at that too. In 2 or 3 years, if they've got to have a pinch hitter come in with a runner on second and 1 out, and they need a big hit, this is someone who has experience doing it. At a lower level, but he has experience doing it. This is why the Arizona Fall League exists. This is why minor league seasons are structured pretty much the same as major league seasons, because you want to simulate these experiences. Trevor Cohen earned himself some brownie points this year because of how he hit the last 2 weeks of the season. So shout out to him for having timely hit after timely hit. Max, I see you got a couple key players that stuck out for the Giants affiliate this year as well.
I do. And then one of them is Lisbel Diaz. That's kind of play that did stake out to me. Like, I mean, like the whole entire season, like his production has been consistent. He's led the league in hits, 139, and also with doubles as well, 32. But his balance of offense is pretty remarkable too. His average is a point, 268. 9 home runs, 68 RBIs, 25 stolen bases. It shows average power and speed, and that's a pretty good like balanced mix, especially for a prospect. But he was just clutch and durable. He made K plays during the playoffs. He caught the final out, played 120 plus games with steady performances. Like having a consistent player like that is something very valuable that the Giants do have. And then got another player here, Hunter Dryden. I feel really bad of not pronouncing these names the greatest, but he had a dominant regular season. He went 5 for 3. His ERA is 2.9. He's anchored the rotation very well. But he was also clutch in the postseason. 10 Ks in 4 innings. 4.5 almost 4.5 scores innings in the championship game. But his fastball gained life. The secondary pitches improved. He finished strong in the season with 19 Ks and 14.5 playoff innings, which I don't know if I can do the math here. If I take 14, that's still pretty impressive for 19 Ks, 14 playoff innings. I don't know who else can do that.
Two solid performers.
So you look at the Giants. Sorry, Corey, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just saying, two solid performers. You're good.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's also, in their top 30, nearly half of those guys are listed at Class A San Jose to begin 2026. So to suggest that this team might repeat as California League champions is not a reach by any means. Really quick to set us home, I want to shine a light on outfielder Dakota Jordan. He's their number 6 overall prospect in that system. He helped that whole season, played all 88 games of his year last year at San Jose. Helped lead that team to that championship. His slash line 311, 377, 497. That's an 874 OPS for those keeping score. 15 doubles to 14 homers. So you average that out to 162 games. That's 30-30. With consistent development and progression, I could see Dakota Jordan being a guy that hits 20-20 every single year. 20 homers, 20 stolen bases. He had 27 steals at Single A as well. Excuse me, 20 homers, 20 doubles, but he could have 20 steals as well. He could have more, probably closer to like 40 or 50 in a whole season. So I could see Dakota Jordan being a guy that San Francisco tries to kind of tie down a little bit, tries to hold on to, and have him patrol the outfield at Oracle Park for the coming years.
I like the sound of that. They got a lot of good playmakers. Again, you kind of got to look into the low A, high A sphere, but most of them, if they're going to stay there, yeah, continuity is fun for the minor league team. It's going to suck for them when these guys go on and advance, but the Giants have tied themselves to a few names in the past. It's good to see that they have a steadily healthy crop kind of coming up. These guys are going to go to high A, double A by 2028, 29. A lot of the names that we just dropped for this low A title, they're going to mean something. You're going to see the fruits of their labor. That is going to do it for episode number 7. Cory Sparks, Sam Strash, Max Rin signing off for today. Thank you so much for watching, for listening. Follow us on all those great platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. Do them all. Those are in the description below, and we will catch you in the next one.
Did you miss the live version of our Minor League Weekly podcast? No worries. We've got you covered at Minor League Minute on YouTube and Minor League Weekly on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Then you can go back to watch or listen to the whole episode for all of your prospect and affiliate ball needs. So what are you waiting for? Go follow, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications to get caught up with the latest. That's Minor League Weekly on all of those platforms.